What's up everyone, Kaze no What If is here with What If Naruto had a leveling system. Before we start, if you like the video, like it, share with your friends, comment, and let's start the video. The next day, early morning. Tenten's room, Higurashi residence. Higurashi Tenten yawned as she got up from her bed and padded into the bathroom. She was the only one who used it, as her parents had an ensuite. As she went through her daily ablutions on autopilot, her mind was wandering, especially focusing on the previous day. For the first time, she had been in serious danger inside the walls of Konoha. Not only that, she had beaten the crap out of at least one of them, alongside her new friend, Uzumaki Naruto. She bit her lip. Naruto was an academy student, but that still meant that he was a civilian. He hadn't had to step up to fight alongside her, yet he had done so. He had shocked her, actually, with just how many ninjutsu he knew. 3 Doton and a futon were an incredible amount for a mid-level genin to know, never mind an academy student. And yet I still only know the academy 3. She thought sourly as she headed back to her room. True, she liked weapons, but that didn't mean that she didn't want to learn ninjutsu. She was really unhappy with Guy Sensei and would be putting some pressure on him to at least arrange a ninjutsu tutor for her. Niji, the bun-haired kunoichi, knew, disdained the use of anything other than ninjutsu and taijutsu created and used by the Hyuga clan and, begrudgingly, the Academy 3. Anything else was unfit for the use of a member of the Hyuga clan, in his own words. Lee literally couldn't mold enough chakra for external chakra techniques. Reinforcing his body's durability with chakra, yes. Enhancing his strength with chakra, yes. Any actual ninjutsu or genjutsu, no. It wasn't his fault, but it was an irrevocable fact that it was impossible for him. Even F-rank practice jutsu were so far beyond him it wasn't even funny. She could see why Guy Sensei had focused so much on Lee. The poor guy had needed a serious morale boost, as well as skills to match other shinobi without using ninjutsu. But she could say that learning no ninjutsu after just under 2 years was a bit much. Dismissing her thoughts for the moment, Tenten got changed into her usual kunoichi outfit and tightened up her hair buns before heading downstairs for breakfast. Her Kaa-san was at the stove, making breakfast, while her Oto-san was sitting at the table reading a paper. Very domestic. And why aren't you at the forge, Oto-san? Tenten asked archly. You still have to finish Naruto's Kodaki. Not to mention my sword. Tatsuhiko winced slightly. I was just waiting for you to come down, dear. His daughter merely raised an eyebrow at him, giving him a yeah, right look. He's just being protective of you, Ten-chan. Connie called over her shoulder as she served up some fired toast with an egg on top, with some side salad. It was a rather large shock we got yesterday. Newton inside Konoha's walls, attacking our daughter and her friend. I'm surprised he isn't trying to make you take a couple of days off from shinobi duties. Connie, her husband, moaned. No chance. Tenten stated flatly as she sat down. Naruto fought as a civilian and actually killed one of those bastards. I need to step up my training. You already train most of the hours a day when you aren't in the shop. Tatsuhiko protested. Yeah, but I'm going to have to learn some ninjutsu. Tenten countered as Connie served her. My Byukaijutsu techniques are all very well, but some wide area ninjutsu would have been useful yesterday. Naruto knows at least 4 elemental ninjutsu already. My. Connie murmured, impressed. Most genin know 1, perhaps 2 within the first year. 3 before he's even graduated from the academy. Now that is impressive. I just don't get how he hasn't graduated yet. The brunette muttered as she chowed down on her food. I mean, he was making IWA Bunchin pop out left and right yesterday. Tatsuhiko and Connie exchanged looks before the male put forth, because Naruto-san has too much chakra to use the regular bunshin, a fact that wasn't known until recently. As you know, the final exam requires those without special exemptions to display a certain degree of mastery of all three of the Academy 3 including the bunshin. But then how's Naruto going to pass? Tenten asked in dismay and mild outrage. Intellectually, she had known all of that, but hearing it said aloud by her parents was another thing entirely. I'd bet that Hokage-sama will pass down an exemption so that Naruto will pass with proven mastery of any kind of bunshin. Connie said comfortingly as she laid a hand on her daughter's shoulder reassuringly, the system is fair, Ten-chan. You just have to be patient sometimes. Mollified at the words of her mother, Tenten sat back and finished her breakfast. Later. Training Field 9. Tenten felt her right eye twitch as she was, once more, subjected to the antics of her sensei and most eccentric teammate howling about the springtime of youth, at the top of their voices. Remind me why I haven't gone insane yet, she asked her other teammate. Misery loves company. Hyaga Niji replied dryly. He was dressed in his usual outfit of shorts, a shirt, and a bandaged right arm. Tenten had once had a crush on him, but that had simmered down to mere camaraderie between teammates over the time since their team had been formed. Once Guy and Lee finished their youthful moment and calmed down, the training really kicked off. As usual, she was doing accuracy and speed drills. Niji occasionally sparred with Guy sensei, while most of Guy's attention went to sparring enthusiastically with Lee. Occasionally stopping to correct his form and give him katas to run through while he sparred with Niji. Again as usual, she was pretty much left alone. Guy was a taijutsu master, with only the very basics when it came to shuriken jutsu and fuin jutsu, meaning he couldn't really teach her more than what she already knew. Which had been fine with Tenten up until about 6 months ago. She had been eager to become adept at taijutsu, as she wanted to nullify the weakness of a ranged specialist as much as possible, which had been done. She was not as skilled as either of her teammates, but she was surprisingly strong for her size and far more skilled than she had been when she had been the top kunoichi of her graduating class. Which was saying something. Her style was a heavily modified version of the Heikage style used in the academy. It was so heavily modified that Guy had encouraged her to choose a name for it. A youthful name, of course. She got her father to choose and so was born the Sokoken. Still, once the taijutsu issue had been solved, she had been hoping for something more than go and master all the weapons you can, from her sensei. She had dutifully done so, and had mastered dual kunao, shuriken, dai shuriken, sansetsukan, waikaizashi, kodaki, katana, tanto, kusarigama, kama, ninjato, kusarifundo and another couple of weapons that she couldn't quite remember at the moment. She was currently working on the johyo, or rope dart. This was very easy for Tenten, as she had made most of her weapons herself and had a natural knack for learning the kata for each weapon. As well as the ability to switch almost seamlessly between each weapon without interrupting the flow of her attacks. With weapons in hand, Niji actually had to activate his Byakugan in order to take her down, and Lee had to remove his weights. Higurashi Tenten was no pushover, that was for certain. Still, her skill set had been feeling stale for a while now. The incident yesterday with the Nukenin had crystallized that feeling. She wanted to be able to broaden her skill set, now. Yosh! My youthful students! Guy bellowed at the end of their training session, tomorrow, we shall accept some missions. Sleep well tonight, for we work youthfully on the morrow. Niji said nothing as he trudged away, while Lee ran off to do some ridiculous training regime that Guy Sensei had set. Tenten? Is there something the matter? The bowl-cut Jonin asked. I was wondering if I could start to learn some ninjutsu, Guy-sensei. She said bluntly. Dancing around the subject would give him too many chances to dodge her request. Do you not wish to be a weapons mistress? He asked carefully after a moment, his face carefully neutral. Well, yeah, but I haven't really learned anything new, weapon styles to one side, in months. The kunoichi pointed out, and yesterday. I got shown that an academy student could quite easily give me a run for my money. He used 4 different elemental ninjutsu, 3 doton and 1 futon, against the nuke nin. He did better than I did. An understanding expression came upon Guy's face. You refer to young Uzumaki Naruto, correct? I have heard that he is most youthful, aside from the pranks he plays on the populace. He's a good kid. Tenten agreed. He stepped up to fight those nuke nin with me without even hesitating for a moment. He didn't have to, he's still a civilian, but he fought and actually killed one. Hokage-sama must have been most displeased. I hear that he treats Naruto-kun as if he were his own grandson. Guy remarked, still, 4 elemental ninjutsu, you say? A remarkable achievement for an academy student indeed. The bun-haired girl agreed with him, but they were getting way off topic. So can I learn some ninjutsu? I have been trying to find a tutor for you for a while now. Guy admitted, regrettably, my eternal rival, who was my first choice for such a task, has been on a mission for the last 2 months. Sarutobi Asuma, a former member of the 12 Guardian Ninja, is a possibility, but he specializes in katon/futon jutsu. I can give you a test to see which element you favor, if you like. It would help narrow down who I ask as a tutor. Eagerly, Tenten nodded. The leotard-wearing jonin pulled out a square piece of paper from his flak jacket and handed it to her. Channel your chakra through this. Concentrating, the kunoichi did as she was asked. The paper caught a light on one side and crinkled up slightly on the other. Primary katon affinity, with a secondary Riton affinity. The jonin nodded, very good. I shall ask Asuma-san if he will lend his talents to aiding you in fanning the flames of your youth. He then made his nice guy pose, sparkling teeth, and all. Tenten had to grin at that. She was relieved that he hadn't been ignoring her all this time, that he had been looking for a way to teach her ninjutsu without breaking his promise to Rock Lee. Heading back to her home after that was a relief. One good thing about Guy-sensei was that he didn't mollycoddle her because she was a girl, he pushed her just as hard as Lee and Niji without reservation or hesitation. Not to toot her own horn, but that made her the strongest kunoichi of her generation. Almost all of the rest had either failed their genin tests or were just mediocre lifetime genin. The brunette found a sneer on her face as she thought about the bane of real kunoichi, fangirls. From what little Naruto had said about his class, most of the students in his year fell under that category. Except for Niji's cousin Hinata and perhaps the Sakura-chan girl that he so obviously had a crush on. She ignored the slight twinge that her heart developed at that though. Getting back to her house and taking a long, cleansing shower was one of the few luxuries she allowed herself on days with ninja training. She didn't like being girly over much, but being clean most of the time was something that was universal to most girls who had any sense of self-respect. Redressing in another copy of her outfit, she took over from her mother at the counter and started sharpening some of her personal kunao. She liked the repetitive action of sharpening a blade weapon as it was ingrained into her muscle memory, allowing her mind to wander and focus on other, weightier, subjects. She was broken out of her thoughts by the shop's front door creaking open and a familiar blonde head of hair poking through somewhat nervously. Naruto, she called in confusion. Why was he acting so nervous? Tenten, her friend asked in an almost frightened voice. Are you okay? She asked in concern, Those nuke nin didn't get any hits in on you yesterday, did they? A confused expression crossed the boy's face for a moment. Oh no. I'm fine. How about you? Not a scratch. Tenten reassured him, why are you so nervous? Air. I think he's worried about our reaction to what happened yesterday, Ten-chan. Her mother said in amusement as she came out of the back and leaned forward, resting her arms on the countertop. I think he's worried about us blaming him for you being attacked. Am I right, Naruto-kun? Why yeah, pretty much. Naruto admitted, those guys were there to kidnap me, Jiji thinks so anyway. Tenten clenched her hands at the memory of what those bastards had threatened to do to her and Naruto. No way were her parents going to lay any blame on him because of something outside of his control. She sent a pointed look at her mother that transmitted this to her. Don't worry, dear. Connie said with a smile, your father and I are retired shinobi, remember. We are well aware that a victim is exactly that, a victim. Blaming Naruto-kun would be stupid in this situation, right, Anita? Tatsuhiko stepped forward, looming over his wife and daughter with a painfully neutral look on his face as he gazed down at a sweating Naruto. He lost that look when Connie and Tenten both elbowed him in the gut pointedly. Yes, I agree that it was hardly Naruto-san's fault. He admitted begrudgingly, that being said, I am not happy she got attacked inside Konoha. We already spoke to Hokage-sama about this, Anita. Connie said patiently, do tell what you expect an academy student like Naruto-kun to do about it. He didn't even have to help Ten-chan fight yesterday, but he did. We should be grateful that he did help her, or Ten-chan might have been hurt badly by those nuke nin. Oka-san. Tenten whined, not wanting to be babied in front of her friend. Really, why did parents have to be so embarrassing? Naruto, now looking relieved, pulled out a couple of scrolls from his pouch and held them up. Well, now that I know I'm not in trouble, Jiji gave me these scrolls yesterday in lieu of payment for what I did. One's a Katon Jutsu and one's a Suten Jutsu. I was thinking I could lend you one to study if it matches your affinities. Tenten blinked. Seriously? That would be great. I just found out that I'm a primary Katon affinity today actually. What's the jutsu? Katon, Hotarubi. Naruto answered, it's a high D rank jutsu, so it'll be challenging to learn without being too dangerous. Sounds perfect. Connie beamed, may I ask what the Suten jutsu is? Suten Ninpo, Mizuami Bakujo, a low C rank jutsu. Naruto replied promptly. Are either of those your elemental affinities? Tatsuhiko asked curiously. Ten-chan said that you used Doton and Futon jutsu mostly. Well yeah, but Jiji said it's always a good idea to learn jutsu outside of your affinities just in case. The blonde boy shrugged, my primary affinity is Futon. But those jutsu are so rare that most of my jutsu are Doton. How many Futon jutsu do you know? Tenten asked curiously. Just two, Futon, Senfukyu and Futon, Kaiten Shuriken. Naruto answered, neither of them are what you might call strong, but I think I'll get there with practice. He held out the Katon scroll and Tenten gratefully accepted it before giving him a hug as thanks. Connie then spotted Naruto's new jacket. Is that a lesser Fujin jacket? Eh? Oh, yeah it is. Found it a few days ago and just got it cleaned up yesterday after I got back from. You know. Naruto kicked at the ground embarrassedly, Jiji told me about how they help with Futon Jutsu. So I was wondering if there were any other parts of the set for sale here. Tatsuhiko frowned in thought. I think we have a pair of the trousers and a t-shirt from the Greater Fujin series, but not the Lesser Fujin Shinobi sandals. Would that be alright? Yeah. Naruto agreed eagerly. Chuckling, Tatsuhiko returned to the back to pull the items out of storage. No one had wanted to buy them, so they weren't on the racks. Coming back, he showed Naruto the trousers, which were a muted green color with blue trimming and looked just like any ordinary set of combat trousers. With the kanji for wind located over the right-hand pocket in black fabric. The t-shirt was green also, with the wind kanji in white on the center of the front, outlined in black. How much? The academy student asked at once. Just pay for the t-shirt. Tatsuhiko said gruffly, take the trousers as thanks for helping my princess yesterday. Oto-san. Tenten wailed in furious embarrassment. Later. Naruto's apartment. Getting in, Naruto pulled the new items out of his inventory. He had only gone to apologize for getting Tenten in danger, but he hadn't expected to get his hands on one of the greater Fujin set. He used his skill on them both to see what they did. Emblazoned with the kanji for wind, these trousers are perfect for one who aspires to wield futon ninjutsu, as it is said that one who wears it will have their futon ninjutsu empowered. Part of the lesser Fujin set. Level 12. Def plus 25. Effect, minor wind chakra cost reduction, chakra point cost for all futon ninjutsu reduced by 5 CP. Emblazoned with the kanji for wind, this t-shirt is perfect for one who aspires to wield futon ninjutsu, as it is said that one who wears it will have their futon ninjutsu greatly empowered. Part of the greater Fujin set. Level 15. Requires level 5 futon affinity. Def plus 35. Effect 1, wind damage reduction, all damage from futon ninjutsu is reduced by 5%. Effect 2, armor of the wind, adds plus 10 chakra armor to all locations. Drains 3 CP per minute to keep active. Grants an extra plus 20 chakra armor against Raiden ninjutsu. Adds plus 30 to damage from Katon ninjutsu. Whoa! Naruto exclaimed with wide eyes. The were cool, but the seriously rocked. Shame he couldn't put it on yet. Stupid level requirement, just like his Tonto. He frowned as he noticed that both his weapons and the best armor he had been able to find thus far both required him to be LV-15. Did that mean that he hit a level cap at LV-15? It would make sense, considering most of the genin he saw were all at least level 15, with Tenten being on the high side for a genin at level 23, with most genin being above level 25. But there were a few lower than that. I guess it makes sense, when we graduate, it might act as a class upgrade from 2, I guess. Naruto reasoned. He had picked up a few game guides earlier on in the day. They had explained that classes were a big part of most RPG-type games, which surprised him somewhat, as they did no such thing. Dismissing the concern for the moment, Naruto changed into his new trousers and went to make his dinner, feeling content with the training he'd done that day. A month later. Naruto's apartment. Name, Uzumaki Naruto. Class, the gamer. Level, 14. Next level, 79.98%. Title, Academy Student. Age, 12. HP, 1700/1700. CP, 1700/1700. STR, 41. STA, 45. Dex, 32. Int, 32. WIS, 35. Luck. Nodding at his stats. Naruto closed his window and looked proudly at the steady work of 10 shadow clones working furiously at the Type 1 scrolls. It had been just over a week since his skill had reached level 5, which had made all the scrolls made since at the level that could be sold. He was planning on making them in bulk so he could sell them to the Higurashis for 600 Ryo a scroll. All of his other skills had gone up in the last month as well. His remained hard to level up, but the addition of the had been a boon in that department, plus the teachings of Asuma sensei. The bearded Jonin had moved into his apartment a few days after the Nuke Nin incident and had been an excellent teacher. Under his tutelage, Naruto's skill with the wind jutsu had skyrocketed, with having risen to LV15 and to LV8. An unexpected thing had been the fact that Tenten had been joining their classes as well, at the request of her Jonin sensei apparently. She had a very good work ethic and Asuma sensei had joked about poaching her from Guy, who was presumably Tenten's Jonin sensei. She had already mastered the basics of Katon, Hodorobi and was currently being taught Katon, Kakyo, fire style. Fireball, which was apparently a lesser version of Suzuki Team's clan's favorite fire jutsu, the Gokakyo no Jutsu. Of course, Naruto had been learning new jutsu too, including Hodorobi. Fire style, Firefly Fires is a D-rank jutsu designed to introduce beginners to Katon jutsu. After making the hand signs, the user breathes out a stream of up to hundreds of tiny fireballs about the size of a dice. Ordinarily a weak jutsu of no danger to anyone of Chunin rank or above, a true master of this jutsu can make the fireballs explode to cause extra damage at command. Hand signs Tiger Ox Monkey Boar Tiger Hare. Range 2 meters. Number of fireballs created, 50. Damage per mini fireball, 5. Costs 40 CP to use. A non-lethal jutsu designed to capture and slash or restrain the targets. Water-style ninja art, starch syrup binding rope is a short to mid-range technique. After making the correct hand sign, the user needs chakra in their stomach and converts it to high-viscosity water before spitting it out at their opponent. It wraps around the target and restricts their movement. This jutsu was created by the Eternal Chunin Izumo and Katetsu, along with 2 other syrup-based jutsu. Hand sign Ram. Range 5 meters. Able to bind, 1 man-sized target. Duration off binding, 3 minutes. Durability of binding, 30 dp. Chakra cost, 50 CP per shot. The wind style, Dragon Wave Jutsu was originally developed in what would become Kaze no Kuni by a wandering tribe of ninjutsu practitioners who had little to no access to metal or wood, leaving them with just their fists and feet to fight with. Using no hand signs, the user gathers wind chakra around their clenched fist before unleashing it at their enemy, shaping it to look like the head of a dragon. For amateur users, it can take some time before it can be fired, but experience will make it combat worthy. Time to charge up, 50 seconds. Range 5 meters. Damage dealt, 55 plus 7 plus 5. Chakra cost, 47. As the first 2 weren't from one of his affinities, the chakra costs were way higher than he was used to, but the effects were pretty damn good as well. Being able to immobilize an enemy was pretty sweet, and the Katon was pretty nice too. According to Asuma sensei, practicing with other elements would eventually make one of them his third affinity, but that was unlikely until he was a Jonin himself. He would have to choose carefully. I have Doton, which cancels out Katon Jutsu and is pierced by Raiten Jutsu, and Futon, which cancels out Raiten and empowers Katon. He thought as he slipped his sandals on. Raiten is neutralized by Futon and pierces through Doton. Katon absorbs Futon and is cancelled out by Suton, which is weak against Doton. Choosing which one to train into my third affinity isn't gonna be easy. The third jutsu was the one of the quest rewards for him getting Asuma sensei living in his building, and boy, did it pack a punch. The length of time it took to charge up was not good, but otherwise the jutsu was a good one. Today marked the 3-month anniversary of when he had received his power, and Naruto was glad to say that he had improved by leaps and bounds from where he had been before. Even Suzuki Team was giving him respect now, although Naruto still hadn't beaten the bastard in a taijutsu match. He'd definitely let him know that he'd been there, but his speed and greater mastery of whatever the hell kind of taijutsu style he used gained him the upper hand in their fights. Speaking of fights, it's almost time for Ino and Sakura-chan to throw down. Just another week to go, Naruto thought with a grin. Sakura had thankfully lost the status just last week and had gained a few points in her STR and STA as a result. Her training with him and her father had added a few points as well, which meant that Naruto was almost certain to complete the quest he had with her to improve her stats. As well as the one where Sakura had to beat her old rival in a taijutsu spar. He had just the prize to give his crush if she won as well. In the training ground the other day, he had gotten a jutsu scroll for a slightly more complex variant of the Bunshin no Jutsu, Suten, Sujiki Bunshin no Jutsu, water style. Water vapor clone jutsu. It used slightly more chakra than the standard illusion clone, but still needed more chakra control than he would likely ever have, so giving it to someone like Sakura, who had excellent chakra control but poor reserves, was a good idea. Unlike his IWA Bunshin, the Sujiki Bunshin, according to the scroll, had very little physical presence, so couldn't attack in close combat. Similar to IWA Bunshin however, they could use whatever Suten Jutsu the original knew. Although they could only fire off maybe one or two high D rank jutsu or a single C rank jutsu before dispelling into vapor. Still, it was a step up from that damn illusion clone. He still hadn't managed to get into the third area of training ground 13, even after a month. Something always happened to make him put it off, one contrived coincidence after another. Study sessions with Sakura-chan that he was late for, training sessions with Asuma-sensei and Tenten that ate up his time. Ramen visits with Iruka-sensei that ran over time as they caught up with each other. He'd concluded that his own damn power was actively working against him in that department until he attained level 15 and could then equip Tsubaki and Sumair. He had been warned that he needed proper weapons to face what lay within, after all, so it made sense. Just about the only fly in the ointment over the last month or so was that Mizuki had been stepping up his sabotage attempts on him. Now that he knew what to look for and he was keeping his guard up around the silver-haired man, Naruto spotted the dozen or so attempts during Taijutsu kata time to teach him to leave his stance open or weak. The incorrect throwing technique he showed him during shuriken throwing practice and the slightly altered questions on the weekly tests. He simply ignored the incorrect stances and reported the paper to Iruka-sensei, saying that there must have been a mix-up as the questions weren't anything to do with what they had been taught. The look on Mizuki's face had been priceless. Yes, Uzumaki Naruto was pretty happy with himself and his life. It would only get better once he graduated and finally became a ninja. A week later. Training room, Amekkage Apartments. Harano Sakura felt ill. She had butterflies in her stomach, she felt lightheaded, her legs felt as if they were overcooked noodles and her arms felt as if they had lead weights attached to them. Calm down, Sakura-chan. Naruto said encouragingly, you'll win, not easily, but you'll win. She shot her somewhat friend a light glare. Your skills at encouragement suck, Naruto. Yes, she was going to have a taijutsu spar with Ino, her old frenemy. If she won, she would finally be rid of that damn nickname that Ino called her. If not, Naruto would be footing the bill for one of Ino's insane shopping sprees. When she had been told about this a month previously, she had punched Naruto into the wall for betting on her without her consent before he had told her he bet on her because he honestly believed she had a very good chance at beating the Yamanaka heiress. That had made her feel odd, warm and fluttery inside. She had quickly thrown the feeling off because she wanted her Sasuke-kun, not Naruto. No matter how he gave her more attention than Sasuke or that he was actively helping her become a stronger kunoichi. Naruto was just a friend and training partner, nothing more. The pink-ed ignored a little voice at the back of her mind that disagreed with her assessment. Easy for you to say. Sakura grumbled, Ino Pig is a ninja clan heiress. She's got all the natural advantages over me dash. That she has been wasting. Naruto interrupted gently, she's been slacking off on her training and dieting, neither of which you do anymore. That has closed the gap between you and her more than you might think. She doesn't know how hard you've trained or how much of a difference that will make. No, I'm not giving her enough credit. She might know that in her mind, but knowing something as a theory and seeing physical evidence of that theory in action can be jarring. Use that to your advantage. Sakura nodded as Naruto stiffened. My shadow clone just dispelled. Ino and her parents are on their way up. Inoichi-san and Saori-oba-san, the pink-ed looked worried before turning a suspicious look on the blonde in the room. I had no idea either. Naruto said quickly, holding his arms up in a pacifying gesture, it must be Ino's idea. Damn you. Sakura growled at her not yet present opponent. Minutes later, the Yamanaka family entered the room and Ino was treated to Sakura's emerald-eyed glare. She responded with a shrug. Hey, it wasn't my idea, for it. Daddy and Okasan wanted to watch and wouldn't take no for an answer. It's not often someone challenges my princess to a taijutsu match, Sakura-chan. Inoichi said mildly, we wanted to watch and see how Ino does. You don't mind, do you? Despite the way he phrased it, the Yamanaka clan head wasn't asking a question. Sakura reluctantly shook her head. No, Aji-san. Saori walked over and patted the pink-ed on the head fondly. Do your best, Sakura-chan. Hey. Ino protested, whose side are you on? Naruto cleared his throat. I'll be acting as the referee, if that's acceptable. Sounds good. Inoichi said with a nod, be fair though. I wouldn't be anything else. Naruto promised, take your positions, please. Sakura and Ino took the center of the training room while Inoichi and Saori leaned against one of the walls. Naruto took a position between and to one side of the two Kunoichi aspirants. This fight will be a best of 3 matches. Naruto said firmly, a round ends when one of you lands on your back or front as a result of the other's actions. I judge you to be unable to continue fighting or if you are forced to tap out of a submission hold. If I tell one of you to stop, you will stop a forfeit a round. Is that understood? He had looked up formal language especially for this occasion. The girls nodded once each. Okay then. Please make the Taretsu no In, he directed. Both of the girls complied, emerald eyes locked onto teal counterparts as the two frenemies stared each other down. Hajime. Naruto said before leaping back out of the line of fire. Ino moved in and lashed out with a basic punch that seemed way too slow for Sakura, who dodged it easily before grabbing that arm and throwing a surprised Ino into the air with unexpected strength. The blonde girl flipped in mid-air and landed safely though, glaring in surprise and consternation at her frenemy. Sakura, for her part, was surprised. Granted, she had been sparring against Naruto for over a month and he was much faster than Ino, and she had been getting stronger as a result of her exercises. But she had never dreamed that she could counterattack a ninja clan kunoichi like Ino so easily. Nice move, for it. Ino called with a smirk as she straightened up, not good enough to put me down though. We'll see about that, pig. Sakura replied with a smirk of her own, if you are holding out on me, you might want to stop it. I'm not the same girl as I was a couple of months ago. Before Ino could respond verbally, her rival darted in and let loose a quick 1-2 punch combo before driving an elbow into Ino's solar plexus. Driving the wind from her lungs and making her collapse to her knees, wheezing. Round goes to Sakura-chan. Naruto declared with a barely concealed smirk. Well done. Sayori whispered, with her husband nodding in agreement. What the hell? She was way too fast. Ino thought in disbelief as she got her breath back. No. It wasn't that she was fast, she was economical with her movements. She wasted as few moves as possible and hit me faster because of that. What the hell has Naruto Baka been teaching her? I did warn you that Sakura-chan would kick your ass, Ino-san. Naruto remarked blandly, earning him a glare from his fellow blonde. I haven't lost yet, the Yamanaka era snarled before standing with a wince and assuming a defensive stance. Apparently she wanted Sakura to come at her, despite the fact that hadn't worked out so well for her the last time. Naruto almost groaned as Sakura took the bait and charged at Ino, but barely managed to suppress it. Despite her intelligence, she had a remarkable fondness for direct action in hand-to-hand combat. Attack as the best form of defense, he had heard Iruka-sensei call it. This time it was Ino who danced out of the way of Sakura's attack, swiftly unleashing a triple kick combo that had Sakura on the defensive almost at once. Naruto had noted that about Ino. She had long legs and did prefer to kick rather than punch if given the choice. You're thrashing your legs like an upturned pig. Sakura teased. Ino scowled at the taunt. Better that having a forehead that can reflect the sun. Ow. They're going after each other's weaknesses. Naruto winced. Girls could be vicious when they wanted to be. Sakura caught Ino's leg and tried to flip her over, but was once more unsuccessful as the Yamanaka heiress regained control of herself in mid-air once again and landed somewhat ungainly on one knee. Nice try, for it, but you aren't beating me that way. Ino said with pride, I'm too good at recovering myself in mid-air. If sending you flying won't work, I'll just beat you down here on the ground. Sakura growled and charged again. The two kunoichi aspirants continued exchanging blows, but the three onlookers could see that Ino was tiring already, while Sakura was relatively fresh. The lack of dieting and the exercise had done wonders for her stamina and endurance. Ino grunted in pain as a well-placed blow sent her staggering back, panting. She was actually losing. It was unbelievable. Could not dieting make this much difference? She wondered before dismissing the concern. Now wasn't the time for thinking, it was time to take down her old friend. Drawing deep on her small reserves of stamina, she launched herself back at Sakura, leaping into the air and raising one leg. Bringing it down in a strong axe drop kick that drove Sakura to her knees when she made the mistake of blocking it. Her blonde rival didn't waste the opportunity as she used Sakura as a springboard, leaping over her before kicking her in the back, sending her sprawling to the ground. Round goes to Ino. Naruto declared. It hadn't been without its cost to Ino's stamina reserves though. He could see that she was tired, although she wasn't tapped out quite yet. She wasn't used to this level of exertion and her dieting had deprived her of the energy she needed to get through it properly. Right now, most of what was keeping her on her feet was sheer pig-headedness, no pun intended. Sakura, meanwhile, had staggered to her feet. Wincing slightly at the slight pain in her back and grateful that the training room they were in had a padded floor to absorb impacts, otherwise she would be more sore than she currently was. I have to win, she thought as she stretched and turned to face her panting, tired frenemy. I am not inferior to Ino. I am the top kunoichi, damn it. I didn't spend these last 2 months training my ass off for nothing. Off to the side, Inoichi silently watched the match unfold. He was, needless to say, slightly disappointed in Ino's performance. She was on her figurative last legs and had been sloppy in quite a few places. That she had won a round was down to Sakura's inexperience when dealing with kicks. The Heikage style didn't have many of them in the beginner and intermediate levels, which was likely all Sakura had trained in. Whereas Ino had studied some of the advanced level even if only slightly. Sakura, on the other hand, had improved by leaps and bounds. Her taijutsu had been weak before and it had come so far after only a couple of months. Add in the lack of dieting and he was certain that as long as she didn't get overconfident, Sakura would likely win this match. Sayori was also watching her daughter's eyes, which were full of disbelief and shock. Ino still couldn't understand how Sakura had managed to improve her taijutsu so much, so quickly. The fact that she was still reeling from discovering how much stronger her rival had become was a psychological advantage for Sakura. As long as Ino was kept off balance, Sakura had a high chance of winning when combined with the physical advantages she enjoyed. This time it was Sakura who assumed a defensive stance and waited for Ino to come to her. The two circled each other carefully, neither willing to commit to an attack yet. The tension between them was taut and ready to snap at the slightest provocation. Which Sakura did by sticking her tongue out at Ino and saying, "Come get it, pig." "Why you little dash," the blonde girl snarled and leapt to the attack, a roundhouse kick snapped out at her rival, who ducked under it and countered with a punch-kick combo that Ino managed to block with some difficulty. The momentary respite had restored some of Ino's stamina, but not terribly much of it. The two traded blows for another couple of minutes, but Ino was flagging fast and even she recognized that. In desperation, she tried another axe drop kick but Sakura wasn't stupid. She dodged to one side and drove an elbow into Ino's side, making the Yamanaka heiress gasp in pain, before slipping around behind her and putting Ino into a choke hold. Ino scrabbled at the thin but strong arm wrapped around her neck, but it was no use. "I give," Ino rasped out. Sakura immediately let her go, allowing the beaten heiress to collapse onto her butt, gasping for air. Naruto smirked for a moment before declaring, "Winner by forfeit, Sakura-chan." Inoichi and Sayori walked over and knelt beside their daughter, who was silently crying in frustration. "Daddy." Ino looked up when Inoichi placed a comforting hand on her shoulder. "You did your best, princess. That's all anyone can ask." Inoichi said gently, "What matters now is what you're going to do going forward." The blonde girl's back straightened and she turned and glared at Naruto, who was smirking unrepentantly at her. "You knew I would lose." "No, I had an extremely good hunch that you would lose." Naruto corrected her, "So? Are you willing to pay the piper?" Ino growled. "Fine. I won't call Sakura-chan that name anymore." "Happy?" "Ecstatic." The blonde boy smirked before pulling a scroll out and tossing it to Sakura, who caught it with a stunned look on her face. "Here. A reward for winning." "This. Suten, Sujiki Bunshin no Jutsu." Sakura stammered, I mean what?" 1. Hard work earns rewards. 2. I have no chakra control worth mentioning, so I can't use it." Naruto rattled off, 3. You're a civilian kunoichi candidate and will know nothing but the Academy 3 when you graduate. So this will at least give you a better version of one of them." "The Sujiki Bunshin? Haven't seen that one in a while." Inoichi mused, used to be an optional choice rather than the regular Bunshin, but not many people tried it out and it was phased out about a decade ago. "It would be perfectly acceptable for you to use that, Sakura-chan." While the conversation was going on between the two blondes and the pinkette, Ino sat and pouted in the arms of her mother. "I hate losing." "I know, my dear. I know." Sayori muttered, "But in this case, I think losing was the best thing for you. After all, you know what must be done now, don't you? No more diet and exercise properly." Ino sighed despondently. "Good girl." Sayori smirked. Later. Naruto's apartment. The blonde orphan breathed out a sigh as he re-entered his home after seeing the three Yamanaka and Sakura-chan out of his front door. He now paid grinning attention to the window floating in front of him. Fields and mountains. Harano Sakura successfully defeated her rival frenemy Yamanaka Ino. Quest completion rewards, plus 2000 EXP, plus 500 reputation with Harano Sakura, plus 500 reputation with Yamanaka Ino, plus 5000 Ryo, Futon, Daitapa no Jutsu scroll. Nice. Naruto grinned, looks like I'm just a few points off from moving up to a neutral relationship with Sakura-chan. Wow, isn't that depressing? Shaking his head, the Uzumaki reached into his inventory and pulled out the Jutsu scroll. Do you wish to learn this? Y/N. Hitting Y, the boy grinned as the scroll dissolved into motes of light and entered his body, a new screen popping up. Congratulations! You have learned Futon, Daitapa no Jutsu. The wind style, great breakthrough jutsu is the Futon analog to the Katon, Gokakyo no Jutsu and is among the most widely known and commonly used wind style jutsu in the elemental nations. This is due to its flexibility, as the amount of chakra placed into the jutsu determines the strength of the wind. Once the hand signs have been made, the user can either manipulate the air around them to make a powerful wind or they can unleash the wind from their mouth. In the case of the latter, the wind can reach speeds that can knock down a large tree from the forest surrounding Konoha. In the hands of a master, this jutsu can be a deadly weapon. Hand signs tiger, ox, dog, rabbit, snake. Chakra cost, Form 1, 57 CP. Form 2, 67 CP. The user must select which form of the Daitapa they wish to use when making the hand signs. If Form 1 is chosen, the user manipulates the winds around them to blow away all things before them. All targets within 10 meters are struck with wind with a STR of 20. Any target with a STA less than that is sent flying, suffering 20 to 30 points of damage upon landing. Any target with STA above 20 suffers a 35% movement penalty. If Form 2 is chosen, the user unleashes a concentrated burst of wind from their mouth that has enough force to topple a fully grown tree. The user sends the blast at one target, which is automatically sent flying, suffering 40 damage as well as the chance for additional damage when they land, with a high chance at a critical. Whoa! Naruto muttered, this jutsu kicks ass. A bit more deadly than I was anticipating. Shrugging, Naruto headed to his kitchen to start on lunch. Same time. Hidden location. So we are agreed, a cloaked man asked. The table he sat at was surrounded by other cloaked men and women, 13 excluding him. The room was dark and they all wore cowls that hid their identities. We are. A woman said gruffly, the demon is constantly challenging Uchiha-sama and is becoming too powerful. A rumble of agreement came from the others in the room before another voice spoke up. But after that whole mess with Nukenin infiltrating Konoha last month, the Umbu are bound to be more alert than ever, he said, his voice a nasal whine. What can we do? I have it on excellent authority that there are two places where it isn't watched by the Umbu. A confident, brash voice said smugly, the Academy and Training Ground 13. Shame the Nukenin didn't solve our problem for us when they attacked it there, but oh well. But surely they're going to be watching who goes in and out of that place more strictly now, after the Nukenin. Nasal voice protested. Why would they? The training ground was only under watch because it was in there at the time. Brash man sneered, we'll go in early, wait in ambush and kill it before the Umbu can do anything about it. Most of us are retired shinobi, the first woman mused, the demon should stand no chance against us all. We'd have to plan things carefully, but there's no reason why it wouldn't work. The first Moss agreed, we just have to be careful, Training Ground 13 is full of chukar mutations. Rumors say squirrels and moles at least. Wow. Squirrels and moles. I'm so fucking terrified. Brashman snorted in disgust, grow some balls. We go in, kill the demon, get out and return to our daily lives with the Hokage and the Umbu none the wiser. Chuckling, he drew and threw a kunao in one smooth action, the weapon striking a photo of one Uzumaki Naruto right in the middle of his face. One more week and our loved ones will rest in peace, he promised darkly. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you liked it, subscribe to my channel for more fan fictions like this, and goodbye.